Experience Karen Hunter in a completely different way. Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're going to love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of The Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is Awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed. This is why I play Raise Up every day. But she said, she's a jazz singer, but the money was in R&B. And I'm thinking, why do we have these categories? Rosetta Tharpe, she gave you Hound Dog and Elvis and all of these, and Chuck Berry and all of that gospel. It's gospel, but it's music, it's blues, it's music. But they've been able to commodify and put categories so that they can make money and then demonize or, this is devil's music. Let's throw this on and let's not give it any money, even though when it goes out, it inspires the Beatles, the Rolling Stone, the Elton John, like Adele, Sam, all of it, right? You were saying in the break that blues, which this is a theme of this movie, the blues.
Yes.
You said it's a trick.
Yes.
The blues is a trick.
Yes. The blues, the very genre of the blues is a trick. And it's a trick on several levels, right? Number one, the blues, more than any other genre, really tells the story of everyday genius Black people and how we move through this place of bondage called America. The blues is the storytelling text. But the reason that's a trick is because most people think the blues is really talking about being blue. And being depressed. The blues is really telling you about the genius of how we survived that which we never should have survived. And the musical structure of the blues, that dun 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 dun, see my lady home, dun 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 dun. You get 3 bars of that. You get 3 bars in the standard blue, and then you get what's called a denouement, right? Been working all week, right? Still ain't got no check. Dun, dun, dun. Been working all week, still ain't got no check. Been working all week, still ain't got no check. I gave my old lady the check, and she spent, blah blah blah. The point and the reason it's a trick is because it is deceptively simple. It'll make a person think these poor, ignorant, uneducated Black folks, right? Really. They have no literature. They have no language. That's why they got to keep doing this repeating. But what people don't understand is African people know the difference between repeating and repetition. See, repetition is not just saying a thing over and over and over and over. That's redundancy. Repetition is when you have found actually the point and the meat of a thing, and you say it several different ways so that everybody in the audience will get it. And you're saying it different ways because different people receive information and process information differently. So by the time you get to the 3rd repeat, everybody has gotten it and everybody has understood. And the trick of the blues is that it gives power, it gives clarity, it gives sustenance in the midst of nothingness. That's the power of the blues, but that's also the power of gospel, which is really what this movie is saying. In other words, the death of Black people has been us surrendering our traditions to Western categorizations, so that we think that having one part of the tradition is better than some other part of the tradition, as if the two have nothing to do with each other. They're really, in fact, the same thing. But what happens with the twins is the same thing that happens with blues and gospel.
Come on.
They are really bifurcations of the same self.
So, would you say there's a crossroad? Would you say there's a crossroad, Dr. Black?
In the blue, come on now. See, in the blues, there is a crossroad. But see, in the gospel, there is a crossroad too. And most people miss this. See, the cross itself is a crossroad.
I'm saying it.
The symbol of the cross is a crossroad, which is really the whole lesson here is Black people go back to it. Black people go back to the crossroad and reclaim what you think you negotiated away with the devil. Go back there and get it. Go back
because he can't take it.
He can't take it.
He can't take it. He's got to be invited in. 866-8. You got to give it to him.
Ooh.
866-801-8255. Dr. Black is here. The movie Center is not a horror movie. It is not a
Karen,
ghoulish. Yes.
Karen, it's not. I have to. Please forgive me, Karen. Y'all forgive me. Y'all know how much I respect Karen Hunter. It is not a horror movie, but it is horrific.
Yes.
But it's not a horror movie. See, a horror movie is a movie whose point, right, is to scare you. The point here is not to scare you, but it's horrific in that it might frighten your consciousness.
Good. And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
The music. Where were you? There's one scene, I'm not going to give it away, where music takes on a life of its own.
Yes.
Well, there's a couple of scenes where music.
That's right.
Music is all throughout. It's just music. Right. It's music. What Ryan Coogler was able to do with the scene, I'm still recovering. I'm gonna say that because my mind can't get all, like, I couldn't grab, and I don't know what kind of theater. Y'all got to see it in the theater. This is not, and I'm a streaming queen. I will stream the hell out of everything. I'll wait for it to come on because I don't pay for all these streaming. This was something I inherently knew I had to sit in one of the big ass theaters with the big ass screens. I didn't want, they even offered the chairs could rock and move. I was like, there's too much rocking and shaking going on. I ain't trying to be in alignment with the shaking and the rocking. Right. So I didn't do that, but I might go back and do the shaking and the rocking. I might have to go back.
Because you should not see this movie alone. That's why the streaming really should, you should see this movie in the context of community. Because that's what the movie's trying to teach.
That's right.
You should see it in the context of community. And the beauty, too, about this music is that one really has to understand Ryan Coogler walked us backward and forward in time, all in the same theatrical moment.
I said, what the hell am I watching?
Loud.
Yo, so I'm going to give away one thing. So count to 20. Count to 20. I'm going to give out the number. I'm going to give away one thing because I want to get Dr. Black's reaction. 866-801-8255 in 2, 3, 1. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to say it now. Okay. So when the vampire comes up and says, I heard this voice, do we call the thing? So I've been taught, we've been taught in the church, that music is devil's music. Right. Satan was the minister of music.
Right.
It fed his soul through the atmosphere. He heard that boy's voice, Miles Caton, and he's a real blues singer, by the way. Right. That's first film role. This was his first role ever. Right. Oh my goodness, did he? Oh my God. Yes, he did that.
Yes.
As we dance, what is a sinner to you, Dr. Black? What is a devil to you? What is a demon to you? And do we call them with the music? Because I see a lot of pastors, people in the church. Let me just be honest. I see a lot of gospel singers struggling. They struggle with gluttony. They struggle with sexual demons or whatever. They struggle at the same time they love the Lord. At the same time they struggling. That gift that they have, whether we're even talking about a Michael Jackson or whatever, it puts you in a space where you have access to that thin veil.
That's right. That's right.
So, is it? Am I seeing that?
Yeah, correctly? Absolutely seeing that correctly. And you know what I think the devil is? Inauthenticity. When you are not yourself, you're playing the role of the devil. When you cannot be yourself, the other option is something which seeks to destroy you. The only thing that will hold you up is you being, your being, what God and the Creator sent you to be. Anything else is your destruction. And in this place, we've all had to play it in certain ways. And sometimes we didn't have to, we just did, because it was easier.
Or we were told that that's the pathway. That's how you
do it. Absolutely.
Because you think about the Miles Davis, all of the drugs and the,
absolutely.
I mean, it's
But see, all of that, again, the evil is anything which promises to erase your authenticity, right? Whatever, that can be a substance, that can be a thing, that can be people. And this is why the notion of them folks hearing us, right, was so critical, because the blues starts out as the field holler.
That's right.
Oh, ooh. See, the blues starts out as the field holler, right? We were doing literally working in the fields. So
Yeah,
they could hear us as clearly as we could hear each other.
that's
So
right.
they were always audience, if you will, to the genius
Okay.
of black music. They were always audience to it. They couldn't always perform it, but they could always, always, always hear it. And so this notion of literally us belting forth our voices unto ourselves and unto a God and unto a world. What most people don't really know is African people, even we started singing because we were trying to mimic what nature was doing in its communication with the divine. Everything in nature, wind, water, all of those became
Birds. Yeah. Yes.
instruments, and they just, and the voice was one of them. So when you put these together, right, you literally could talk in the language of God is music. And what white folks realized is we were the keepers of that language. And that language was magical. And that language would do not just for the soul, but even for the physical body, even what medicine could not do.
Okay. So the banjo, which comes from the African tradition,
That's right, the Cora,
so
absolutely.
it's ironic. So I want to now get into a little the Irish, right? Because the Irish guy, little spoiler alert, playing the banjo,
That's right.
called to this sound that drew him. Again, Satan, minister of music in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
You know, did God snatch his music when he cast him out? I'm asking a question, and he's seeking to get it back. I don't know. I'm just gonna throw it out there. So he comes and he's like, okay, can we play with you?
Mm-hmm.
Inherently, we were like, nah.
No.
What you do? No, you
No.
can't come in. We didn't even know. We didn't even know. Oh, it was to a person. No, you cannot. No, you, and they were trying everything. Look, we're gonna show you.
Yes,
It was like,
right.
no. So fast forward, little spoiler alert, 2, 3, 1. They done got all of the people out, and they're doing this Irish river dancing.
Celtic, right.
Dr. Black, my spirit couldn't take it. I had to plug my ears. In that moment, something didn't feel right about that, even though a lot of people are celebrating and they get out and they're trying to river dance. And I was like, no. Something is off with that.
Ma'am.
Something is off with that. And we need to have a conversation about it because the proximity to us does not make it us.
And that's why they did it right outside the juke joint. Because it was an issue of proximity. And helping people to understand the proximity does not at all make that yours. Not at all. And it was supposed to sound strange because, in fact, those rhythms are 10 times less complicated than the rhythms in the juke joint. But that was the whole point, because all of a sudden, we've been listening to the blues, then all of a sudden you show, and we're like, what?
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I couldn't do it. I was like, no, stop it. Shut up. Then they started river dancing. I was like, oh, hell no. What's this weird skedaddling going on? These whimsical skedaddling happening. But it was wild because there's a lot of and this Ryan Coogler, man. I know the protagonist in this, again, he did it with Killmonger, where we're supposed to, but that's a different kind of more complicated discussion about a Killmonger versus T'Challa, and
right.
Then it was the Under the Sea dude, Namor, and this time it was in your face because the Irish came here as N-words. The Irish came here as N-words. The Irish came here as N-words. They were on them plantations right next to black people picking that cotton. They were indentured. They were enslaved, except for a period of time. Whiteness was invented to stop the Irish and the black people from coming together.
Absolutely.
Once that happened, they became the overseers. Once that happened, they became the patty rollers. And the modern version are police.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what this film teaches is be careful of thinking that you can ally with people whose history is just similar to you. If they haven't chosen your liberty as part of their agenda. Not just you think you need them. Is your liberty part of their agenda? I don't want to talk about
John Brown. Yes.
Right. See, John Brown, our liberty was part of John Brown's agenda. What he was showing in this movie is do not ally with people just because you think y'all have some similar history. If they're not claiming your freedom as their agenda, that's not an ally.
I thought they were also telling us that they need us to be free.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They need all that we have. They need us to be co-opted into their existence in order for them to find solace and peace. We have to give up all our very soul. I sat there. I said, "This man is just too much complication going on here. I got to go back and see it again."
Absolutely.
Shout out to Ryan Coogler. Michael B. Jordan did the thing. Oh my God, just there's so much there. All of the ladies. Miles Caton, who is a real life R&B singer, blues singer. His mom is a gospel singer, of course, because they're the same. Timony Figueroa. That's his mama. I don't know if you know who she is. She's had her baby singing. It's in his DNA since he was a baby. He sang with Fred Hampton and Faith Evans and Erica Campbell and Reverend and Bishop T.D. Jakes. He has toured with a bunch of and toured with her. This is his first film. He released his first single in 2023 called "This Ain't It." And that's his real voice in Sinners.
Experience Karen Hunter in a completely different way. Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're going to love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of The Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is Awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. So check out the podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you will not be disappointed.